I am back as promised. And the hardest part about me posting videos is the editing part of videos. Other than that, content is not the hardest part. It's the editing part that is tedious. So I wanted to share two other sections of this book. I was having a discussion with a brother that I knew about just the things that happen with our people and some things that really need to stop. You know, there's some things that we don't even realize that we do in terms of how we cast each other, in terms of complexion, in terms of hair texture, just foolishness like that, the length of our hair. It's just all kind of things that need to stop because they destroy people. They destroy lives. They cause some people to commit suicide because they feel unaccepted and unloved by the people in their community. I did a whole video on it, but I wasn't able to upload it because I think it's because my computer doesn't have enough memory or something. I got to figure out how to do it, even if I have to put it on Instagram. But there was a lot of people, well, even if I have to put it on YouTube, there's a lot of people that I grew up with who were, including myself, who were affected by it. But thank God I was able to pull through and find some balance amidst the madness. Okay, so I'm going to read this section. I'm reading from this book again, When Rocks Dance by Elizabeth Nunez-Harrell, a wonderful author. And she used to be a professor at City College where my friend used to attend. And she was able to give me an autographed copy of this book in a hard copy. But this one I got from a thrift store. I love to go in thrift stores. You get books like this for like $1, $2 or something like that. And the book is originally about probably $8 or something like that. It has the price actually in the front, but I don't want to destroy the book. So, because it's a little piece on top of it. Apparently somebody got it from a library and never returned it and then sent it to the consignment shop. But anyway, I'm going to read from this section where it says, the little girl, the daughter that she had, is talking to her mother, right? So she says, I think this was after her husband, you may want to read the book. I don't really want to, tell you everything that happened here, but I'm just going to read this section. Secretly, Marina blamed her mother, not with animosity or hatred, only with feelings as close to pity as an 8-year-old girl could get. As she felt sorry for her black, short-haired kitten because it was not furry and fluffy. Not that she loved it less, but she knew that others shunned it because of the way it looked, and so they shunned her. And she blamed her kitten because she knew that it could not change its color nor make itself furry. Perhaps if her mother's skin were not so black, they would not have to move from where they now lived. Again, it was instinct that led Marina to this simple but hidden truth, though her sense of the cruel unfairness of that fact would not allow her to give it voice to her mother's ears. Or then it could have been the simple putting together of observations like 2 and 2, like dark clouds and rain, like sunshine and happiness, like black skin and laborer, like white skin and overseer, that brought her to this lucid understanding. Yet she thought that her mother prettier than any white woman she had ever seen. She loved the smooth roundness of her skin and the way the sun changed her skin from blue-black to oxblood black, so that at night she reminded the girl of the polished ebony mask that an old Igbo man had given to her mother before he died, And in the day of an overripe governor's plum, its red juices almost bursting through its black skin, Marina regretted too that her hair was too fine to braid into the cornrows that looked dazzling on her mother's head. So thus, while she was glad she resembled her father, she often wished she looked like her mother. For the only value she placed on her own English features was that they made her part of a father whom she loved. Yet, she was not unaware that others thought her more beautiful because of that fact, more fortunate even, that others thought her pale skin, clear eyes, and light curly brown hair were most valuable assets, her most treasured possessions. Isn't that really sad that they think that's all she can offer to society? And there's people who know this truth and know it's not true. I mean, they know this is how people look at them, and yet they buy into it. They are more than their skin. They're more than their light eyes. They're more than their dark skin. They're more than their dark eyes. You know, it's deeper than that, right? Ah, man, it's terrible. This is a pretty deep passage when she talks about land and the power of land. And you know, many people fight over land in families, kill over land. So maybe some people, when I read this passage, it will resonate with them. It was the first of many times Amelia would see a hardness, a coldness in her daughter's eyes. She's talking about the little girl, the sort of expression that could come only from someone who had never loved, or someone who would not let loving or feelings stand in her way of getting what she wanted. There was a cold determination in Marina's voice, a tone that demanded an answer. And Amelia found herself speaking to her 8-year-old daughter as if she were already a woman. And she heard herself teaching her step by step a lesson she knew, she felt instinctively, would dominate her daughter's life, would determine all her decisions. As if at that moment the world stood still for her, Amelia clasped her daughter's hand in hers, and looking deeply into her eyes, she beat out for her the silent rhythms of her forefathers' love for the land, their age-old kinship with the earth. The time had come for her to pass on the message of her people as each African mother in the Caribbean would do, until each Caribbean child would lock its truth in his heart and take it with him wherever he went in the cold, concrete lands of England's cities, America's New York, Chicago, San Francisco, giving it birth where he went. Yes, a man who owned land was a sort of God. He walked with gods. A man who owned land, owned a part of this earth. He was his own master. He belonged to no one. He could be no slave. He could grow his own food, make his own bed on his land. Yes, land was his most valuable possession. Amelia taught her daughter this and more. A man, she said, owned land only if he owned the deed to it. But if a man had land, it did not mean that his woman had land. For if she, Amelia, owned the deed to Rothgar's land, no law in the world, no person on earth could move them from where they lived. Nobody could force them to live with the Telsers. You were born, she said finally to Marina, on the land, beneath the cocoa. The land took you from my womb before I touched you. The land embraced you. You belong to the land, and you will own land one day. No, no one will force you to move from where you live. No, not like they did to me. And indeed, Amelia was forced to leave her house. Though the Denise was true to his word, he took Rothgar's will to the colonial court, and the judge acknowledged its validity. Rothgar's house and land belonged to Amelia. But before the case was closed, there were other settlements, funeral costs, land taxes, Rothgar's debts, payment for which, since Amelia had no money, would be exacted from the house and land by Rothgar's creditors, his friends. In time, Amelia forgot her bitterness. In time, she saw a sort of justice in the fact that she had lost the land that had cost her her babies, and she had Marina. But Marina never forgot. The day she moved with her mother to the Telsa's home, she swore that she would fulfill her mother's promise to her. No one, not even God, could stop her from one day owning the deed to land. And while she did not stop to consider why her father had not placed her mother's name on the deed to his house and land, she loved him more for willing his possessions to her. And she determined that she would make certain that any land she owned would have her name, Marina E. Hethro, written clearly on the deed to it in large black letters. Isn't it real? The power of land. And then how people find cunning ways to get it from you, take it from you, steal it from you, tell you you don't have any rights to it, buy it from you for pennies, making you think, once your money is spent, land goes nowhere, so it's not even worth selling. But sometimes you fall on hard times and people know it, and they come like the vultures, waiting to peck, and get whatever you leave behind. And if it's the land, they're going to come and get it from you. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. But I like the way she expressed the power of land and how the little girl, she watched her mother and she listened to her mother. And even though her mother had to handle business and lost, she wasn't able to fight the fight. Marina was determined. When you have that young, fiery spirit, and you're like, one day, right? That fire that you have in you, that fire that is really there for the young people. Some older people, they have it too, and they keep that fire burning as long as they can. But a lot of fires are really made for your youth. Your heart can take it, your body can take it, your mind can take it, your brain, all the pressure on your head, pressure on your heart, pressure on your body. That stuff is not made for you. It's mostly made for the young. But the wisdom comes from the elders, right? So the wisdom comes from the elders, but the physicality part that comes from the young people. So both need each other, working hand in hand. So I just wanted to share that piece of the book again, When Rocks Dance, Elizabeth Nunez-Harrell. I love stories. I love them. And I met her personally. Actually, I got a copy of her her book. I feel like I met her one time. I feel like I did. I just can't remember. Just wanted to share that with you. I hope you found some joy in those passages that I read to you, because it is a pretty interesting book and it's well written. It's an old book. I don't even think they have it in print anymore. This was in copywritten 1986. Yeah, I must have gotten this book in like 19, let me think. I'm thinking about 1991. About 1991, I got a copy of this book. But that was what? Tag on it. 9 plus 23, that's 32 years ago. 32 years ago is when I got a copy of this book. But anyway, God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. And there will be more to come.